Pokemon Emerald Kaizo. Now, I know this is different from my usual content, but I wanted to try something challenging, and this was going to be very challenging, so you guys should definitely check this out and see what I'm about to do. This game is incredibly difficult, but this is just the beginning. Let me explain everything. There are so many mandatory trainer battles, mixed with double battles, even gyms having double battles, and sometimes they have weird gimmicks involved like they do here. Compared to your traditional Pokemon game, the AI is much smarter. They have a lot of Pokemon, even in the beginning of the game where it's supposed to be easy. They have a lot of coverage, making you really think about each play that you make, and the Pokemon that the trainers have are all scary to deal with. I'll let you know that right now. They also have very annoying items to deal with, like citrus berries in the beginning to heal them back to full HP, bright powders which make you miss 10% of the time. Seems like a little, but you'll be surprised. Sometimes you'll have to deal with Pokemon that have Quick Claw into Explosion, and yeah, you get the point pretty much. Each battle I go into becomes harder than the last. You have to fight legendaries, difficult boss fights, not even bringing up the gym leaders and the Elite Four. This is what the Champions team looks like, just to get you guys a better understanding. And the Pokemon you get aren't even close to being as good as that. If you're still unsure about how difficult this challenge is going to be, let me put this into perspective. This is the same as getting rank 1 in every single category in Trove. This is the same as setting a 1000 PP play in Osu as a 5-digit. This is the same as getting an ace in every round in Valorant and winning the game. Now, some of this might be a little bit over exaggerated, but I'm just trying to paint you guys a picture of what to expect. And I didn't want to just beat this game because that's kind of lame. I wanted to hardcore Nuzlocke this game. So these are going to be the rules that I'm going to be going with. You can only catch the first Pokemon in each route you go to. If a Pokemon dies, then I can no longer use it again. You can't use any items in battle, but held items like berries are fine. I will be playing on set mode instead of switch. I can't go past the gym leader's highest level Pokemon, so no overleveling. And if my whole team dies, then I have to restart from the very beginning. Here are the level caps that I'm going to be going with all the way to the Elite Four. And lastly, I just wanted to give a massive shout out to Pokemon Challenges, WolfeyVGC, and DRXX. I learned so much about this game from watching their content, and they also inspired me a lot. So you guys should go check them out if you haven't already, or if you just don't know them at all. They have some really good content, so go check them out. But anyway, this is it. Here we go. Starting things off, I decided to go with the Trico since my level cap is going to be 15 for the first gym. I need Trico because he's going to be a really good help for the gym trainers and the gym leader in general. I beat my rival, I got some Pokeballs, and I was ready to start my adventure. I picked up a Luvdisc in Little Root Town, a Hoppip on Route 103, and a Slugma in Old Deal Town. These are some pretty good encounters, and I'll be needing them later on. Finishing my encounters there, I went to battle the first trainer, and honestly, they're not too hard as long as you switch Pokemon whenever you need to. I start making progress towards Petalburg City, and over there I can pick up an Azurill. Now, if you don't know, Azurill and Luvdisc both have Charm, which lowers the enemy's attack. This is going to be very helpful soon, and you'll see why. Anyway, going through Petalburg, we pick up the Azurill, and we head west for some spicy battles, and a Magikarp encounter that we'll also use later. I can't evolve it into a Gyarados because of my level 15 level cap, but that's alright. It evolves at level 20, so we'll worry about Magikarp later. I battled the trainers and I've run into this fisherman with 4 Pokemon. A Magikarp that's choice banded and only has bounce. If you're not careful with it, you're probably just going to struggle with the rest of his Pokemon, but if you can manage, the rest of his Pokemon aren't too difficult and the rest of the trainers aren't that bad either. I pick up my next encounter in the forest, I beat some bug trainers, and my first major battle begins. I am going up against a Team Magma Grunt. He has 5 Pokemon, starting out with a Magnemite. With some small planning on which Pokemon will take out who, I was able to defeat him and receive the Great Ball and exit out of the forest. After we make it out, we get the Bullet CTM from this person, and I'm just going to use that on my Trico because it's going to be super handy later on. I fight a couple more trainers, and now we have another big battle. The next tough fight we have is Red 1. Notice how I said 1? Yeah, you'll see why later. Anyway, he has all starter Pokemon, Pikachu, and an Eevee. Remember when I said we needed Luvdisc and Azurill for Charm? This is one of those moments. Eevee uses Curse, a setup move that can be very dangerous if you don't plan ahead for it. I charm it down 5 times and water pulse it a decent amount of times to finish it off. It does, however, have a Citrus Berry which heals it back to full HP, but we can just keep using water pulse to finish it off. I use Trico to deal with Pikachu, giving myself a Cherry Berry just in case I get paralyzed. I use Carvanha to deal with the Charmander, Hoppip to deal with the Bulbasaur. It does, however, have a Sleep Powder, which could have been bad, but I did plan ahead for it by bringing a Beedrill. Just in case that went bad, I had Beedrill as a backup option. Lastly, I just Mega Drained the Squirtle, and that's it. Pick up some berries, and we head to Rustboro City. Going a little bit north of Rustboro City, we get another important encounter that we will use for this gym. I thought I was going to get a Kabuto, but I got an Omanyte, which works just as well, and I get the Battle Armor ability, which makes it so I can't get crit, which is perfect for not only this gym, but in general. Going into into the gym, we have the first trainer who has a Geodude with self-destruct. Luckily it's slow, so we can outspeed and finish it off with Loftus. This is just the beginning with Pokemon that can explode on you, just saying. Next trainer, my biggest concern was this Yanma, because with the levels I had and the team I had, I was very scared of losing this run to the Yanma because it has Giga Drain, Silver Wind, which can boost, Ancient Power, which can also boost, and Aerial Ace. The coverage on this thing is insane. I swapped into my Slugma because I had nothing else that could outspeed and kill it easily. I lived and I was able to Rock Tomb it and defeat the rest of this trainer's Pokemon. And before I begin my battle with Roxanne, let's do a basic rundown of how the enemy AI works in this game. Here's expert Trove player Seed Feed for a rundown of how the AI works.
Let's say I'm the Pokemon Emerald AI. I'm not going to switch Pokemon, and I also don't use items in battle. Just know that I'm going to stay on the fight option at all times. I know the exact stats for your Pokemon. When I pick which move to use against you, I roll all of my attacks and see which one rolled the highest. One thing to keep in mind, Pokemon can do anywhere from 85 to 100% of their maximum damage. Whichever move rolls the highest, attack is the move that I'm going to pick. Another thing to note, if your Pokemon is faster than mine, I like to use moves that will slow you down. Lastly, if I see a kill on your Pokemon with one of my moves, then I will always pick that move. If multiple moves will kill, then I'll just pick one at random.
Thank you Seed Feed for that basic rundown. Now, it's Roxanne time. She starts with her Nose Pass while I start with my Almanite. He goes for a Seismic Toss while I use Mud Shot to lower its speed. The reason why I didn't use Water Pulse is because I didn't want to activate its Citrus Berry, plus I outspeed now and I can just take it out. Next she brings out Anorith, and luckily with my Shell Armor ability I can't get crit. It did a little bit more damage than I would have liked, but I was able to take it out with Bubble Beam. Next is Lileep, which I was pretty worried about, to be honest. It didn't have a decent counter to it and its moves were pretty terrifying. So I know it's going to use Giga Drain here because it's used the kill. So I pivot into my Beedrill who can take the hit. Now a couple things. It's going to use Ancient Power, and if it gets the 10% Omni boost or gets a crit on me, I'll wipe. Luckily it didn't get either one, and I was able to Toxic the Lileep. Just in case my Beedrill ends up dying, my other Pokemon will always have a chance against it now. I decided to sacrifice my Beedrill as I won't really use it at any other point in this game, which is fine because it resets tempo and brings it back into my favor. I decided to use Pin Missile, and yeah, my Beedrill managed to hit 4 times, which was insane. Next comes out Lunatone. I'm slower than it, so it's gonna outspeed and kill me, so I decided to sack my Beedrill and bring in Love Disc. Since rock moves are physical in this game, I decided to charm it down a couple times and Water Pulse it. I'm not dead to Confusion, which is what the Lunatone wants to use next, but luckily I don't get crit. I outspeed and I'm able to take it out. Next is Relicanth, and it sees a kill with 3 of its moves. I have to switch into Trico, and I'm able to take it out with Bullet Seed. Last Pokemon is Shuckle. This one's tricky because it's incredibly bulky, has Curse, a setup move, and if I'm not careful, this thing will sweep my entire team. Luckily, I have a strat for this. I use my Marill to charm it down, lowering its attack. Then I begin to Water Pulse, but sadly Shuckle used Sunny Day, which halves my water moves, but I don't really have another play here. I just have to keep Water Pulsing it down. It does however Toxic my Marill, but I came prepared with a Pecha Berry, and after many Water Pulses, I'm able to take it out and get my first gym badge. This was by far just the beginning though. My new level cap is going to be 19. I make my way over to Rusturf Tunnel to pick up a Geodude. I won't be using it for the second gym as I need to keep him safe for a later point in the game. I save our friend Pico, get the Devon goods, or as I like to call, the Devon goods, and make our way over to... Nah, just kidding. We don't have to actually fight a rival here, so I just ignore May and head on over to Dewford. We pick up some encounters here, and I was able to get a Mankey here. Normally, I would never use this thing in a regular playthrough of any Pokemon game, and I'm gonna need him for a special top secret mission, which you'll see later. I used the Clamperl that I got to help me out with some of the gym trainers. Clamperl also has the Shell Armor ability, so I don't have to worry about getting crit. Sadly, I'm not able to use Magikarp here because it evolves at level 20 and my level cap is 19. I kind of forgot about that. The reason why I wanted Gyarados was because of its Intimidate ability, lowering the enemy's attack stat. Raleigh uses fighting types, and they all hit pretty hard. I decided to go into Granite Cave and pick up a very important encounter. I ended up getting a Mawile, and I got pretty lucky getting one with the Intimidate ability, and getting this encounter in general. Now that we got Mawile, I think our team is ready to go. Yeah, I know I said I was going to use Mankey later, but let's just go with it. start things off with Mawile, who intimidates the Hitmontop. What I do to get past not only this Pokemon, but the rest of his team as well, is to switch into my Magcargo on the incoming fighting moves, and then back into Mawile on the incoming rock slides. I have the move Recover, so just in case I end up flinching, I could use Recover to restore some of that HP to get me prepared for the next Pokemon. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, if they crit me once, it ignores the attack drop from Mawile's Intimidate, and things will get really, really bad. I needed to make sure I beat this Hitmontop without proccing my Oranberry, because I need it for the incoming Hitmonlee, which has way more attack than the Hitmontop. Hitmonlee sees a super effective rolling kick on my Magcargo, so I switch into my Skiploom, then back into my Mawile for the Intimidates. I then go back into Magcargo to recover in case he crits me, and all I have to do is avoid crits and flinches. It got pretty rough. He ended up getting burned because of Flame Body, and thank god he doesn't have the Guts ability. I Flame Wheel and try to keep my HP above 30, and just like that, Hitmonlee goes down. Next is Hitmonchan. I lower his attack, and I tried to use Mankey with Rage setup, but I don't know what I was thinking with that, to be honest, but I did end up taking out his Hitmonchan. Next up is Poliwrath. I want to bring in my Skiploom, but it's too risky, so I try to charm it down a couple times with my Love Disc, but I go with a different strategy here. I brought in my Chimecho because I can just heal myself with Wish and Recover, and take out the Poliwrath with ease. Next is the Hariyama. I make a crucial misplay. 2 Psybeams is all I need to kill here, and I'm able to take 1 Shadow Punch from him. I clicked Wish, thinking I would help myself later on, but I ended up just losing my Chimecho. I switched into Skiploom, and from Chimecho's final moments with us, it was able to heal me back up from when I used it earlier. I then take out Hariyama, and it comes into Brawly's final Pokemon, Meditite. I then use the last bit of Mawile's HP to intimidate it down a bit, but I make a misplay going into my Love Disc here. Meditite wants to Brick Break, and I can't switch back into my Mawile for another attack drop. I end up sacking my Love Disc and bringing out Hop for the KO. I now have the second badge, and I could have done that fight a lot better, honestly, but I'm glad it didn't get worse than that. My new level cap is 29. I can now evolve my Magikarp into a Gyarados, which means I have 2 Intimidate users. I make my way over to the Granite Cave and go through the new ice puzzle to deliver the letter to Steven, the guy who has a Mewtwo, a Deoxys, and a Jirachi. Anyway, I head over to Slateport with the help of Pico's dad, and we get into a battle instantly. Why do I have a feeling that this is going to be a reoccurring theme? There are some hidden trainers here on the beach, but they're not that difficult. After all those mandatory battles, we make it to Slateport City. This is where the game begins to progressively get harder. We have to fight 2 Team Aqua Grunts back to back, but luckily it's not too difficult, especially with my Skiploom, a Azumarill that I evolved from my Marill. I also gave it a Silk Scarf, which boosts normal type moves, and I defeat both Team Aqua Grunts. I then head on over to Route 110, where I have to fight May. I start things off with my Geodude, and I can take it out with my Magnitude, which was 7. Next is Nidorina, where I bring in my Azumarill, but something unexpected happened. She switched her Pokemon out into Bayleaf.
Hi again. There's a very specific situation where the Pokemon Emerald AI will switch Pokemon. If you were to hit me with a move, and I have a Pokemon that can resist that move, only then I will switch to my Pokemon that can resist that hit. In this case, Bayleaf resists Azumarill's Waterfall attack, so this meets the condition for the AI to switch.
I get some chip damage off with my Magcargo before I have to switch out. I go into my Mawile, and for whatever reason, she switches into Wartortle. As I'm about to take out this Wartortle with Poison Fang, she switches again. Is someone else doing a Nuzlocke in her place? I take out her incoming Nidorina, and I ran into a couple issues. I swapped into my Azumarill to take out her Combusken, and I got burned. Also, it's now using Bulk Up. I need to take this thing out quick before it gets out of hand. So at this point, you would imagine that Combusken bulks up again and begins to sweep my entire team. Well, not quite. She swaps into her Bayleaf, because why wouldn't she? I swap into my Grovyle, who takes out her Bayleaf and the incoming Wartortle. Next up is Pidgeotto, and I forgot I had Steel Wing, but luckily my Geodude was able to take a hit and Rock Slide to take it out, and same with this Combusken. Alright, that was kind of a weird battle, but we move on. And before we actually go into the gym, we have to battle Wally, who has a level 70? Luckily it doesn't pose any threat to us, doesn't have any good attacking moves, and we're able to take it out with ease. Next up we do our Mauville encounter, and we get a Flaffy. This Pokemon is going to help us out a lot. Then I go back to Slateport to see if I can get a Lantern with the Volt Absorb ability. If I don't get it, then I'll most likely just not make it past the 3rd gym. I fish in Slateport, and I find my favorite Pokemon, I get lucky on my first try, and it ends up having the Volt Absorb ability. I make my way into the gym, and there's a specific trainer I have to be careful about. Guitarist Kirk. He starts out with the Voltorb, who has Explosion. Luckily, my Geodude can tank the hit. I pivot into Chinchou, who takes out the Elekid. Next is the Skullbat. I use Macargo against it, and all I have to do is hit through a couple of confusions. If I don't, then things are gonna get kinda bad, and I'll potentially wipe to him. Somehow, I snapped out turn 1, and I used Rock Slide again, but I low rolled and it actually lived on 1 HP. Luckily, it does not go for another Confuse Ray and I can take it out. For Loudred, I use Gyarados for a few Intimidates. I don't want it to use Hyper Voice because it's Giga buffed in this game to 120 base power. I take it out, and for the last Pokemon, I switch between Mawile and Flaffy, and I'm able to defeat Kirk's last Pokemon. Let's get into this important gym battle now. Watson is definitely a run killer. I've lost to him many times back in the day in my Pokemon Emerald runs. This is gonna be way harder than that though. Anyway, let's begin. The first Pokemon he sends out is a Jolteon. I found that Flaffy isn't the best answer for this, but in case I can't take it out with Flaffy, I want to at least have Jolteon paralyzed so I can outspeed with another Pokemon. We both end up getting each other pretty low, and I have to switch Pokemon. I go into my Jumpluff here, who can tank a Thunderbolt and finish off Jolteon. Next is Lantern, and I have a pretty consistent answer to this. Shoutouts to Pokemon challenges for this plan. Lantern wants to Ice Beam my Jumpluff, so I pivot into my Dugong, who can resist it. Now it sees that I'm faster, so it's going to Thunder Wave. This is where I can safely switch into Donphan, since it doesn't affect him. I now use Endeavor on the incoming Surf to bring its HP down to my HP. I can't get crit because of battle armor, so this was always a safe option. I can now switch into Jumpluff on the incoming Surf, and I use Giga Drain to take it out. I decided to stay in because I'm faster than this Ampharos, and it's most likely just gonna Thunder Wave. I use Poison Powder, I then switch into my Lantern and go for a Confuse Ray. This Ampharos is going to wish he wasn't going up against me. I come prepared with a Cherry Berry and begin to Bubble Beam it down. Next is Raichu, which doesn't know about my Volt Absorb, so he gave me some free HP. Now he's no longer going to Thunderbolt me, and I can take advantage of this. I switch into Gyarados to bait the super effective Thunderbolt for my Lantern, which I can use to heal up. You see how good Volt Absorb is now? The AI won't know about Volt Absorb until they use the electric type move, or if they switch Pokemon. If Raichu knows I have that ability and I take it out, this incoming Electabuzz does not know about it now. This is why Lantern is like a must-have here. I then proceed to take out Electabuzz, making sure I'm nice and healed up as much as I can. I now go up against Watson's final Pokemon. Manectric does not know about Volt Absorb, so he heals me for free as I get some damage off. After a few Bubble Beams, the third gym badge is mine. Things are about to get even harder now. My new level cap is 42. I head on over to Route 112 and I pick up a Calm Nature Vulpix. Normally some people would say that this is a very average or maybe a bad encounter, but this Vulpix that I got was actually going to be a game changer. Its IVs ended up being insane. It had 31 HP, 9 attack, 21 defense, 27 special attack, 18 special defense, and 24 speed. Next we have some important fights coming up, and we have to go up against Team Magma Grunts. And this is where the game starts to get harder. The items that these Pokemon have are just the beginning of Fright Powders, Quick Claw, or Quick Claw into Explosions, and Focus Bands into Explosion. Also, why do these trainers want to battle me when Team Magma is right there and up to no good? Maybe they joined forces or something? Who knows? Luckily, with strategic planning on which Pokemon is dealing with who, we make it almost to Fall Arbor Town, where we have to fight Red 2. This fight is pretty scary. I lead with my Lantern, giving myself a Chesto Berry in case Pikachu wants to use Sing, which it does. I use Bubble Beam and oh my god, not this again. It looks like Red's doing a hardcore Nuzlocke as well. Switches into his Venusaur, and I have to switch. I use Ninetales here, and with a couple flamethrowers, I take it out. Next he brings out Pikachu because he sees the super effective Surf. Why does Pikachu even have that? Anyway, I outspeed it, and I take it out with Flamethrower. Next is Snorlax, and we're just gonna mainly PP stall here. After that, Blastoise comes out, and with a mix of Ampharos and Lantern using electric type moves, I'm able to take care of that. Next up is Charizard, and Gyarados is able to deal with him pretty well. Lastly, we got Espeon, but I just throw a few Pokemon at it, and I got his HP pretty low, and my Ninetales was able to finish it off. And there we go, Red 2 is done. I can now go into Fall Arbor Town, pick up some more encounters. I ended up finding an Aeron, which was insane because it ended up having the Rockhead ability. I can teach it Head Smash later, and I won't take any recoil damage. Plus, let's not forget its massive defense stat. After dealing with all of the Magma Grunts leading up to Meteor Falls, we go through Mount Chimney and deal with more Magma Grunts. We now have a couple major battles here. Magma Admin Tabitha, who has an insane team. He has a Weezing with Explosion, and with the way the Emerald AI works, if the Pokemon with Explosion is sent out last, it won't use it at all. In this game, the trainers don't go in team order. Here's Gary to explain what the AI will switch into.
Yo, Gary here. I'm currently down here in Florida, and I don't think it's a good time for a call, but I'm gonna assume that you want an explanation on why AI switches to a specific Pokemon. But first, let me close my window real quick. Alright, so imagine I'm the Emerald AI and your Torkoal just killed my Spinda. To figure out what I will send in next, let's consider the following options. I have a Torchic with Ember and a Spheal with Water Pulse. Of the two Pokemon, I will send in my Spheal because it has super effective Water Pulse towards your Torkoal. Now, let's consider a different situation where multiple Pokemon have super effective moves. Let's say you have a Trico that just killed my Spinda and I have a Torchic with Ember and a Mudkip with Ice Beam. Since my Mudkip is weak to your Trico, I'll send him in. Lastly, if I didn't have a Pokemon that's weak to your Trico, then I would just go in team order with the Pokemon that has the super effective move against you. Ah, shoot, I just remembered that I left my clothes hanging outside. I'll call you later.
Thank you, Gary, and also good luck with those clothes. Now, let's see how I do this in this fight. I start things off with an Ampharos to deal with his Dodrio. I wanted to stay careful of not going past the level cap of 42. If I leveled up my Ampharos just a little, I would have been safe from a crit double edge, but luckily I'm safe and I was able to take it out. Next is Aggron, who has Rockhead. I wanted him to come out early because my Pokemon would be the most healthy enough to deal with him, which is why I led with Ampharos in the first place. I swap into my Azumarill, who I planned on sacking. I was going to use him in a later fight against a certain scary Pokemon, but I have another plan for that. Somehow my Azumarill lives on 9 HP and flinches this Aggron with Waterfall, allowing me to take it out. Next is this Arcanine, where I planned on using my Shell Armor Torkoal, but I couldn't hit the range and he lives on actual 1 HP. I decided to switch as I do need my Torkoal for later fights, so I swapped into my Lantern, thinking Arcanine would have maybe used Wild Charge, but as I switch, apparently Tabitha is doing this hardcore Nuzlocke as well as he switches into his Flygon. Like, seriously? Did I do something wrong? Why is everyone constantly switching? Anyway, I end up having to risk a crit so I can do just enough damage and switch into my Tentacruel, who can take it out. Arcanine comes out next, and I can easily just outspeed and take it out. Next is Manectric, where I can switch into my Lantern to get some HP back with Volt Absorb. I take it out, and out comes Tabitha's last Pokemon, Weezing. Since it's the last Pokemon, it will not explode, so I don't have to worry about losing a Pokemon to that. I end up having to sack my Azumarill, which allows me to send in my Ampharos, who outspeeds and kills. With some better planning, I could have saved my Azumarill, but sometimes sacrifices must be made. Next, we have Maxi 1, another very scary fight. I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot, but anyway. It starts things off with a Registeel. Unfortunately for that Registeel, it meets my Jolly Golem where I can Earthquake him down. Next is Houndoom, and there is one thing I forgot to mention. A lot of moves and Pokemon got buffed in this game. Houndoom is one of them, but I do have a consistent answer to this, and that is my Tentacruel. I can't one-shot it, but I can take a hit from him, allowing me to Bubble Beam to finish him off. Next is this Claydol, who wants to Earthquake, but I can just switch into my Gyarados for free, and I do manage to flinch him with Waterfall, allowing me to take him out with ease. Next is Alakazam, which is not an easy Pokemon to fight. Luckily, I have a pretty good answer to this. I bring out my Whiscash on the incoming Thunder Punch, and I can take one Psychic crit if he ends up doing that. I end up bringing him down to literal 1 HP, and I think you guys can guess what ends up happening. Yep, he ends up switching his Pokemon. I'm not even surprised at this point. I ended up using Muddy Water just because he was 1 HP, and it's happened before where the AI switches on me, so I was thinking it might happen in this case. And if it does happen, I can potentially get a Muddy Water accuracy drop. Sadly, it didn't happen, but this actually works out in my favor as I can swap into my Ampharos and one-shot this thing with Thunder Punch, giving myself a Pecha Berry in case he poisoned me. Next, he brings in Alakazam, which Jumpluff ends up taking out. Lastly, we have Dusclops, who is also Giga buffed in this game. I had to use a mix of so many different Pokemon against it, but we ended up having Golem at the very end finish him off. And that's it. No more Team Magma grunts. For now, at least. We can now head over to Lava Ridge Town to pick up a Why Not egg and to challenge the 4th gym. Flanner's gym is always sunny, making water moves pretty bad. Any water moves have their damage halved, and fire moves are increased by half. There's also another important thing to note. enemies have the move Solar Beam, which fire instantly in the sun. But the AI is pretty weird about using it. 50% of the time it's just gonna click it, the other 50% it's just gonna use Wild Charge or some other high damaging move that it has. The trainers here are pretty difficult, but the most difficult is Expert Keegan. He's the last trainer before Flannery. He starts things off with an Electabuzz, which Lantern can take out, because I can just heal with his Thunderbolt. Next is his Hariyama, and since I still have my Mawile, I can go for double Intimidates with my Gyarados, taking Earthquakes and Rock Slides for each other. Then I can send in my Torkoal to take it out. I want Torkoal to be out when Hariyama dies because Victory Bell comes out next, and I can just use Flamethrower with my Torkoal. And I can't get crit because of Shell Armor. He next brings out Octillery, and I use Gyarados to bring his HP down. Then I switch into Lantern to take it out. Last Pokemon is Houndoom, and with a couple switches, I can go into my Rapidash to finish it off with Drill Run. Now, we can move on to Flannery. I have a pretty good strategy lined up for her, so let's just try it out. It's Flannery time. She sends in her Ninetales, and I have my Primeape. Notice how I have 1 HP? Reversal does more damage the lower HP you have, which makes it so I can one-shot the Ninetales, I can Rock Slide the incoming Charizard, and then I can Reversal the Blaziken. Then the sweep is stopped here on this Arcanine. I go into Gyarados for the Intimidate, then Lantern on the incoming Wild Charge. This is important because I want to send in my Torkoal, so I confuse the Arcanine to hopefully give my Torkoal an easier time. And it does. I use Earth Power to get the defense drop, and I take it out with another Earth Power. Next is Typhlosion. I want to bring out my Primeape, but the issue is if I bring him in, then I'll just die to whatever Typhlosion uses against me. In this case, it's Heat Wave, which I brought in a Pokemon to sacrifice. I know some people use Carvana because it evolves into Sharpedo, but I've never really done good with him, and even in my normal playthroughs, he's just not that good for me. Plus he has really bad defense, and I don't know, it's just not my type of Pokemon to use. So I just sack it, and then I can switch into my Primeape. I one-shot the Typhlosion, and now Flannery is on her last Pokemon. The unfortunate thing about this is that Reversal is a roll to kill. There's a 1 in 16 chance for this cast form to live. 1 in 16 chance to lose my Primeape. Easy, wasn't even worried. I hit the roll and get my 4th gym badge. My new level cap is 48. Before we head on over to Norman, I can go into the desert area to pick up a very important encounter. Mirage Tower has a guaranteed Bagon. Catching it is pretty hard, but luckily I caught it just before it started struggling on me. I also pick up a Trapinch in the desert, which is going to be very helpful against the Team Magma Grunts later on. I head on over to Norman, and if you guys didn't know, this gym is a double battle. Norman has some hard-hitting Pokemon like Slacking and Tauros. Luckily, I have the perfect strategy for this fight. If you're able to bring out Norman's Snorlax as early as possible, the battle essentially becomes a 2v1 in my favor. Snorlax is just going to use Curse and Rest. He doesn't really pose a threat to us. Now to bring him out, we can't use our previous strategy here because Snorlax's only attacking move is Snore, which is a normal type move, and it's not really super effective against anything. We need the AI to go into phase 2. Here's professional Osu speed player Bonbon to explain.
In order to better understand the logic behind these decisions, let's take a closer look at the scenario. You fainted my Espeon with your Blastoise. So now, I'm going to look for a Pokemon in my party that has a super effective move against Blastoise. But I don't have one, so I'm going to go into phase 2. I'll look at the Pokemon that I just lost, which is Espeon, and it's a Psychic type, and I'll now try to look for a Pokemon in my party that has a Psychic type move. Snorlax has Rest, so in this case I will switch into Snorlax. In a double battle situation, I follow these same rules, but now I have 2 Pokemon on your side to consider. In order to figure out which Pokemon I'm going to target, I flip a coin. If it lands on heads, I'll target the left slot, which has Primeape. It's a fighting type Pokemon, so I'll send in Swellow, which has a super effective flying type move. If I land on tails, I'll target your right slot, which has Blastoise, and send in Snorlax because I don't have any Pokemon that has a super effective move against it.
Thank you, Bonbon. Now let's see how I use this strategy into action. It's Norman time. Starts off with an Espeon and a Slacking. Notice how my Gyarados is 1 HP? My plan is to use the move Flail, which does more damage the lower HP that I have. Now, you might be wondering, isn't he just gonna attack my Gyarados? Well, probably, but we don't really have to worry about that. Espeon is always going to use Skill Swap first turn to get rid of Slacking's Truant ability. Because of that, my Blastoise can use Fake Out on the Slacking so he doesn't attack my Gyarados, and I can use Flail to one-shot the Espeon. Since Norman doesn't see a super effective move, he's forced to send out his Snorlax. This battle is officially a 2v1. Slacking sees a kill on my Gyarados, so I can safely switch into my Golem to take the incoming Shadow Ball, while I switch out my Blastoise for my 1 HP Primeape. Because Norman saw the kill on my left slot, I knew he was going to be attacking over there. Now I can safely reversal the Slacking, and because Gen 3 double battles make you send out Pokemon instantly, I can can head smash the incoming Kangaskhan. It doesn't kill, but now we have something to worry about. Kangaskhan has Fake Out, a priority move that will always go first. And in this game, the AI will always go for a kill if they see one. To prevent this, I will use Endure on my Primeape so I can take any hits this turn and I'll be left at 1 HP. My Golem isn't going to be touched here, so I can just hit him with another head smash, removing Kangaskhan from the battle. Next is Tauros, and since I can't really outspeed it, I have to switch, and it sees the kill on my Primeape. I switch into Breloom on the incoming quick attack, while my Golem can let out another massive head smash. It doesn't one-shot, but that's alright. Now Tauros wants to Iron Tail my Golem, so I can swap into my Mawile to take that hit, as my Breloom can hit him with a 1-2 Sky Uppercut. See how easy this is as a 2v1? Norman doesn't know what to do at all. Next he brings out his Swallow who wants to Sky Attack my Golem, and I use Ancient Power with my Mawile. Making little swaps like this make the battle so much easier. Swallow sees the kill here on my Mawile with a Hidden Power Ground, so I can swap into my Gyarados safely because it isn't affected at all. And I can use my Golem to take out the Swallow. Now we can just deal with his Snorlax. I intimidated it a bunch and send in my 2 Pro Boxers and end this fight with a clean knockout. The 5th badge is mine and my new level cap is 55. Next I head on over to Fortree City where I can battle Winona for the 6th gym badge. Before I do that though, I have to take care of Team Aqua and Weather Institute. I also have to fight my rival. Weather Institute is pretty easy. My starter was Trico, and I haven't really used them much, and that's because I was delaying his evolution until he got the move Leaf Blade. With the Overgrow ability and Miracle Seed, I'm able to get past these grunts without any issues. At the top, we have to fight Admin Shelly, but luckily this is pretty doable, as she doesn't really have a Pokemon that causes any threats to my team. We pick up a Cast Form and make our way over to our rival fight, and lucky for us, that was pretty easy as well. Now, let's talk about Winona. She's a female, age 30, no I'm just kidding, but actually though, look at her team, this is actually insane. Did I also mention that this was going to be a double battle as well? We're going to need some top level strats for this. Also, we did lose an important member of our team. Can we take a moment for our man? I'm H. I miscalculated an Ice Shard and yeah, let's just move on. Alright, fine, I lost my Macargo as well. I was tired, okay? Started doing challenges like this without any mistakes. It happens though. Alright, it's Winona time. She has 3 legendary birds. This is gonna be a very scary fight, but apparently every fight is scary in this game. Anyway, here we go. Notice how I have a pre-damaged Primeape here? It's because I want Zapdos and Aerodactyl to always see a kill in that slot. I can switch into my Aggron to take those 2 hits, and while they're distracted, I can let out a powerful head smash taking out Zapdos. Now I have to prepare for the next attacks, so I make a double switch here to easily tank their hits. Salamence ends up getting a kill here on the Aerodactyl, which brings in Flygon. I swap out my Breloom as they both see a kill, and my Salamence is able to get the kill on the Crobat. Now I'm in the perfect situation. Crobat sees the kill on my Primeape, and Articuno is going to use a priority move, Ice Shard, onto my Primeape, leaving my Salamence alone. I can use a super effective Rock Slide while I just endure taking all the incoming hits and live on 1 HP. Next is Moltres, and just like before, they're going to attack my Primeape, so I can swap them out now while my Salamence takes out Winona's Articuno. 1 bird left, my Salamence can outspeed and takes out her last Pokemon. 2 more badges left, and the Elite 4. My new level cap is 70. I can now head over to Lily Cove City as I have a few important things to do over there. Before I fight Team Aqua, I pick up 2 Ghost-type Pokemon along the way, which is insane. Ghost-type Pokemon are very helpful, especially when it comes down to Pokemon with Explosion. An important fight to mention here is Mat 1. We'll have to fight him later on again, but let's not worry about that right now. I used Gyarados to start this fight, and I used Bounce. This Wailord has self-destruct, and I had no idea when he was going to use it. So my plan was to Bounce on turn 1 to avoid the attack as he dies. Matt would send in his Machamp, and my Gyarados would take it out, since I'm still in the air with Bounce. Pretty good strat, but it didn't end up happening. I attacked it with Bounce, and as it came down, it blew up, almost killing my Gyarados. The rest of his Pokemon aren't too bad, just some careful planning on who's going to take out who. Armaldo takes out his Dragonite, and we can move on. Next, we have to go through Team Magma Hideout, which has permanent sunny weather. But that's the least of our worries. All these Magma Grunts have risky AI, turn 1 Explosion, Bright Powders, Focus Bands. This place is terrifying. Luckily, with all the encounters we got, we can start sacrificing some Pokemon here, as there isn't always a perfect way around all these grunts. I lost quite a bit of Pokemon here, but that's alright. It would be insane going through this without losing a single Pokemon. The last 2 left in Hideout are Admin Courtney and Maxie 2. Courtney's team is very scary. She leads with the Charizard, and I'm just going to use my Primeape here like I did against Flannery. Now here's the tricky thing. Salamence has Draco Meteor, which does so much damage, and I didn't want to risk any of my important Pokemon Pokemon against it. I decided to sand attack it down with my Pidgeot so I can give my other Pokemon a decent shot against it. Pidgeot goes down heroically, getting one sand attack off, and now my Whiscash can take it out with Ice Beam. And I thought I could outspeed this cast form, but yeah. Let's just move on from that. I can bring in my Primeape and one-shot cast form and the incoming Regirock. Kangaskhan comes in and wants to use Fake Out. I can endure and take a hit and then reversal next turn. Next is this Venusaur. I'm worried about him getting the Ancient Power boost or a crit on my incoming Ninetales. If he does, there's a good chance that I'll wipe. I get lucky as it didn't crit me or boost and I was able to take it out. But now let's get into this scary boss fight, Maxi 2. Starts with this Tyranitar, and luckily with the Intimidate attack drop, I'm still able to one-shot it with Reversal. Next is Executor, which I bring out Cast Form. I can just Weather Ball, which brings his HP down all the way. I can also get a clean kill on his Flygon with Ice Beam. Now he brings out Entei, a very scary Pokemon. Did I also mention that Entei's buffed in this game? Yeah, this Pokemon isn't going to be easy to take out at all. He also has Sacred Fire, which does a lot of damage. I was planning on using my Azumarill from a while back for this fight, but I thought of another way. I can swap into my Torkoal without worrying about getting crit, and I explode the turtle, taking out the boss monster Entei. That one hurt a little bit. Next he brings out Arcanine, which I for some reason forgot he had extreme speed. Sorry Rapidash. I bring in Salamence, and Maxi 2 goes down. The only thing left from here is to take out more Aqua Grunts and Mat 2 in Team Aqua Hideout. Against Mat 2, I lead with my Ninetales taking out the Glalie with a super effective flamethrower. Let's just say I got the high roll because there's a chance that it would have lived there. But Champ ends up taking himself out with superpower and Kingdra comes in. I managed to get a crit Ice Beam, and why do I feel like that was the first time I crit something at a pretty crucial moment in the game? Anyway, Tauros comes in and it has a choice band, meaning it's going to be stuck with one move. This works out perfectly because Tauros wants to Earthquake my Tentacruel and I can switch into my Salamence who won't get hit at all. Next, I use a mix of Ampharos and Flygon to bring down Wailord's HP. Last Pokemon is Dragonite, and I'm able to finish it off with Salamence. Now let's get into the 7th gym. Every trainer here is a double battle with some weird gimmicks like Shadow Tag and Perish Song or Pokemon with Explosion. Like, their only move is Explosion. Luckily it's not too bad because I do have some ghost types, so that helps out. Anyway, let's go to the gym leader, Tate and Liza. I start things off with a Latias and a Latios. That's pretty scary, but I do have a pretty good plan for this. I explode my Gengar, which takes out everything on the field apart from my Cloyster, which has a massive defense stat, and I can't get crit. Next is Medicham and Gardevoir, and yeah, just like that, she's down to 2 Pokemon. I can then attack her Starmie with my Ampharos and Mischievous, and all that's left is Jirachi. I can then keep swapping my right slot around, and I eventually take it out with Ampharos. We now have 7 gym badges, and we have 1 more to go, and then the Elite Four. Our level cap now is 77. We have a couple more important things to do here before the 8th gym though. We go to the Space Center to fight more of Team Magma, but at the top, we have a double battle with Tabitha and Maxi. We're joined with Steven, who has a useless Aerodactyl. The important thing in this fight though is my Starmie. You can already tell by the name though. All I have to do is land 1 Hydro Pump. 85 accuracy. I can do that, right? Let's go! Starmie's got my back. And the rest of his Pokemon isn't really too difficult. I can Ice Beam the Salamence and take out the rest of their Pokemon. Steven almost wiped, but I guess he's not really doing a hardcore Nuzlocke. We're getting really close to the end now. We go into the Seafloor Cavern where there's permanent rain. There's more Team Aqua Grunts, and this guy has a scary Golduck. But I just use Walrein and it ends up just being a surf battle, so I don't have to worry about that too much. Then we got this person over here who has a Slacking, and because it has Thunder and Surf, I can't use Fly or Dive to protect myself with its slow turns. Shoutouts to Pokemon Challenges and DRXX for going through this so I didn't have to. I used Corsola here and I just Rock Smashed it a bunch to lower its defense stat and chip some of its health down. I, for whatever reason, forgot what gen this game was, and I thought Leaf Blade was a physical attack and not special. Luckily it just loafed the next turn and I was able to take it out. Good job, Sceptile. This section in the game isn't too bad because not only do you get a bunch of encounters, but you also get a bunch of water types to help you out. Now, let's get into the main event here. It's time to fight Archie in the rain in a double battle and against this scary, scary team. Start with a pre-damaged Huntail here because I want both Suicune and Raikou to target that slot. But unfortunately for them, I'm just gonna go underwater and have my Glalie take them both out with Explosion. And because I exploded in slot 1, I'm able to bring out who I want first, which is going to be Relicanth. I can then take out the Dragonite with a single head smash, and Metagross isn't really going to do much here, mainly just going to use Protect and not pose much of a threat to us. Next is Kingdra, where I sacrifice my Huntail. I'm able to take out the Kingdra, and I just use Surf with Slowbro, which takes out the Metagross and leaves Qwilfish pretty low. I use Surf again, and that's it. No more Team Aqua fights, and no more Team Magma fights. Archie then uses the Red Orb on Kyogre. We have this cutscene, and now we can go into the 8th gym. If you guys didn't know, you have to battle Wallace in a single battle and Juan in a double battle. Let's start with Wallace. I use Slowbro as it can't get crit and it's able to deal with the Kingdra's Draco Meteor. It does recoil, so we're just gonna let him take himself out. Next, I bring in a pre-damaged Sceptile because I always want this cast form to put me in overgrow range with Thunder. Even if I get crit and paralyzed, it's fine because I put myself at that exact HP where I would always be alright. And I have a Cherry Berry just in case. Shoutouts to Pokemon challenges for the strat. I take out the cast form and next is Lapras. Lantern is a consistent answer to this. Well, maybe not consistent, because there's a chance he can just swap into Swampert, but luckily I didn't have to deal with that. Qwilfish can take out the Ludicolo, and Swampert wanted to just use Yawn here, which I was alright with. If it did use Ancient Power and Boost, things would have been pretty bad. But we're alright. I can Magical Leaf the Swampert, and I kinda just threw everything onto this Milotic and finish it off with Lantern. Now it's time for the final gym badge against Juan. For a battle that Juan wished he was never in. And there we go. We got all 8 gym badges and don't have to worry about level caps anymore. I can take all of my Pokemon to level 100 and start prepping for the Elite Four. I do my encounter here in the grass and I end up getting a Torchic. I can use him in the Elite Four if it has pretty good stats, but it got bodied. No, like, I actually just straight up body slammed the Torchic thinking it could live. So much for that possibility. I also encountered a Tauros, but I decided not to include that on my Elite Four team. Going through Victory Road, we have to battle Wally and Red one last time. But with our level advantage, these battles aren't so bad. I can start sacrificing more Pokemon if I need to, because at the end, I can only bring 6 Pokemon to the Elite Four, and at this point I already knew who it was going to be. I ran into an issue with Expert Julie. I used Flash Cannon on my Aggron, and she switched into Metagross. I then switched into Flygon on the incoming Earthquake, and for whatever reason, I used Flamethrower thinking I could just do some small chip damage to the Metagross, just so I could not bring it into Lychee Berry range, and yeah, I'm not sure what I was thinking to be honest. I lose my Flygon to an explosion, which really hurt a lot. Flygon has helped me a lot through this journey. Anyway, we make it out of Victory Road, and this is it. The Elite Four is all that's left. I got through all the pre-hard stuff, and now we have the final challenge ahead of us. The final team that I'm going to bring with me is Salamence, Ludicolo, Swellow, Dusclops, Slowbro, and Wobbuffet. Before I go in though, I just have to change the nickname for my Dusclops real quick. If you know, you know. Plus, I feel like that name is fitting, since he's a ghost type and he can just sneak around. Anyway, let's just go in. Our first battle is against Sydney, who leads with a Sableye. We're mainly just gonna PP stall this thing. Next is Machamp, where I pivot into Ludicolo for a fake out. I need a little bit of chip damage for my Swallow to one-shot. I also need to switch him in on an incoming Hidden Power Ghost, so I pivot into Dusclops and into my Swallow, who can now take it out. I also didn't mention this, but I burned my Swallow because it has the Guts ability, raising his attacks by 50%. I also have the move Facade, which is 70 base power, but it's also doubled if the target has a status condition, like I do here. Yes, burn ignores the attack drop. Also, Facade is stab, meaning I get another attack bonus. See how OP this is? Anyway, we can one-shot the Machamp, Alakazam, and the Jolteon. My sweep is stopped here because of the attack drop, and even if I did one-shot it, I wouldn't be able to one-shot Sydney's Houndoom. I pivot into Ludicolo for some chip damage and back into my Swallow to finish it off. Last Pokemon is Houndoom, and we can take that out as well. One Elite Four member down. Next Elite Four member is Phoebe. This battle is just mainly going to be a PP stall. Dusclops to take out the Gengar, and then she brings in Dusclops. I PP stall this thing with Slowbro. I can use the move Recycle to get my Leppa Berry back, and have infinite PP to stall her Pokemon out. I can take out her Dusclops, and have the PP to stall out her Sableye as well. I have to get off a few Intimidates with Salamence, and I can switch back into Slowbro so he can do his thing. I kinda miscalculated when it was gonna die to poison, but luckily it wasn't a big deal. I needed Salamence to be out next, where I can Air Slash the Ludicolo. Then I end up PP stalling this Crobat as well, and it finally goes out. Last Pokemon is Gardevoir, which Dusclops can take out, and about half an hour later, we defeat Phoebe. This was, however, the easy part. Next Elite Four member is Glacia, who has permanent rain. This is about to get scary. Dusclops, and to get rid of Glalie Intimidate, I used the one white herb that's in the game for this moment. After a couple of Shadow Balls and a Shadow Sneak, Glalie goes down. Next is Regice, who has Explosion. Did I mention that 3 of her Pokemon have Explosion? Anyway, I needed Wobbuffet to not get frozen or crit here. I'm able to use Mirror Coat, and I take it out. Next is Dugong, and I'm just gonna PP stall it here to play it safe. And it was gonna be the last stall going forward. Next is Lapras, and I need Ludicolo to save us here. Unfortunately, I brought him out too early, and he took too much unnecessary damage. I go into Dusclops to Shadow Sneak the Lapras, and it goes down. Next is Wailord. It has 8 Water Spout PP, so I have to stall that out. Sorry, this is officially the last PP stall for that specific move. I just heal it through with Slowbro and count down all of his Water Spouts. And with no more Water Spout PP, it was low enough HP where he just had to explode. Swap into my Dusclops, and there we go, one more Pokemon left. Now, there's a couple issues with this. Everyone is low apart from my Swallow, and sadly I can't bring him in as it's too risky. If Swampert gets the Ancient Power boost on anyone, I wipe. But I was also in an extremely risky situation. I realized my only way out is to bring out Ludicolo, but I also have to deal with spike damage and the potential crit from the Swampert. To play it safe, I decided to sack my Swallow and go into my Ludicolo. If he crits me, gets a boost, or I can't attack because of paralysis, the run is over. I just need Ludicolo to help me out a little, just this once, and he holds! Ludicolo, the legend, keeping me in this fight. Not only Swallow, but everyone who died leading up to this point in the box is counting on us. I teach a couple Pokemon some new moves, and we move on to the really scary fight. Drake, the next Elite Four member. In his Latios, which, by the way, his Latios and Latias both have Soul Dew. Anyway, the prerequisite for me to stay alive for this fight is for Wobbuffet to hold. And just like that, he does. Let's go, Wobbuffet. Next is this Tyranitar, who ends up using HP Bug on my Salamence, and I can one-shot it with Brick Break. Next is Salamence, and I make an unfortunate misplay here. I'm supposed to use Slowbro for Kingdra's Draco Meteor, but I instead use Slowbro on Salamence's Draco Meteor. I keep myself at about half HP and switch into Ludicolo. I take a Draco Meteor and fake out for the kill. Next is Kingdra, and I come to the conclusion that I have to sack Ludicolo. I do, however, get a decent amount of damage on this Kingdra as it goes out heroically. I switch into Dusclops where I can Shadow Sneak for the kill. Next is Dragonite, where I switch into Salamence, and this happens. Yeah, that was a very close call. I switch into Dusclops as Dragonite uses Extreme Speed, and I can use Shadow Ball into Shadow Sneak. Getting crit at any moment here will lose me the run. Last Pokemon is Latias. Pray for no crit. Dusclops coming in clutch. Shadow Sneak for the win here. We only have one person left, the Elite Four champion. He has 3 legendary Pokemon, which, by the way, thanks for using them in our double battle, Steven. I teach my Pokemon a couple more moves and make our way to the final fight. Let this glorious battle begin. And I specifically left myself at this HP because I wanted to be able to proc my berry to heal me at a good enough HP to survive Shadow Ball from the Mewtwo. I use counter, which Wobbuffet deals with perfectly. Everything is running smooth so far. Now I just need Wobbuffet to hold. Alright, this makes things a little bit more scary. I send in my Dusclops where I'm able to Shadow Ball into a Shadow Sneak. My Dusclops took a little too much damage, making it a little bit more difficult against Steven's Starmie. But next is Deoxys here, where I can just Shadow Sneak for the Oko. I use Shadow Sneak here because I'm in range of a Hydro Pump crit. And I was able to take out Starmie, and next is Jirachi. I can now sacrifice my Dusclops as it did its job here. I Shadow Sneak and I get a lucky crit. Dusclops going out with just a tiny bit of help. He deserves a break. Now we send in Salamence, which gets rid of the attack boost that Jirachi got earlier. I used Flamethrower, and we get another lucky crit. Let's go. This champion fight is going way in our favor right now, after that unfortunate crit that we had against Wobbuffet. Steven's last Pokemon is Aerodactyl. We can take it slow from here. I have 2 Pokemon and he's got 1. I used Rock Slide, avoiding the boost from Ancient Power, and then I sack my Salamence, and this is it. 1 Surf from Slowbro wins us the game. If you guys have made it to this point in the video, thank you. It took me a really long time to not only beat this game, but I also had to edit the video, so that took a really long time as well. And I really wish that I live streamed this entire thing because there's some sections that I didn't get to record. I also wanted to stream this game, but I didn't really think many people would watch me. I streamed it a couple times and I didn't really have, you know, maybe like 3 viewers at most. So I was like, it's fine, I can just do this in my off time. So I'll just, you know, record it on my own. And I wanted to have like live voice commentary of me actually doing like gym leader fights and all that stuff, but a lot of my footage was just me like, okay, hold on, let me check the calc. And then I was like very monotone because I was like, okay, a lot can go wrong here. So yeah, a lot of wild things going on here, and I don't know. Long story short though, I beat the game hardcore Nuzlocke with the rules that I went with in the beginning. If you do want to see me do this on a live stream, please let me know in the comments down below and I will do that. I will happily do that because this game was actually really fun. It was also very painful. I did not enjoy a lot of the sections in this game, but you know, hardcore Nuzlocke, it's the rules that I signed up for. And I don't know, if you guys are even interested in me doing this on a live stream, then let me know. If not, then you know, that's cool. I'll just go back to doing what I usually do. And it's also really hard to record a lot of the sections, especially the entire post commentary, because I had to record it at nighttime, and you know, I can't really talk very loudly, so I do have to, like, you know, talk a little bit quieter. I can't really add emotion to a lot of this stuff, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is for now. Maybe in the future, you know, once I, you know, get my own place and whatnot, I can do all that stuff. This was a very scary game, as I have said that a lot in this entire video. Also, I did want to mention, I wanted to do a lot of live commentary for, like, especially the Elite Four section, since I made it that far into the game. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of it was just like, okay, hold on, let me check the calc, and then, like, I was just staring at the calc. I was just like, okay, what can I do from here? What do I need to do? Is there any outs? Stuff like that. And I also wasn't sure if I was actually gonna win. So there was also that possibility. So like, if I recorded all of that and the chance of me wiping, then I'll have to restart. And I was already running low on computer space. I just didn't record my audio. So I was like, as long as I record the video section, then at least I'll have that, and then I can just do the post commentary. So that's what I did. That's why I mentioned the live stream. So if you guys do want to check out a live stream of me doing this entire challenge again, let me know in the comments down below. And on that note, hope you guys have a happy holidays. It's currently just after Christmas time of me recording this. Hope you guys did have a good holiday. And if you're watching this in the future, then hope your future holidays are good as well. Happy birthday if anyone's watching this on your birthday, so there's always that as well. And as always, thank you so much for watching the video. Drop a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and I will see you all later.